On October the 8th, Chief of the General Staff of the Army and Armed Forces, General Ali Abdullah Ayoub, officially announced that the Syrian armed forces had started a large-scale assault aimed at retaking several key cities and regions from terrorist forces after a week-long bombing campaign by Russia targeting the jihadists. A day earlier, South Front Analysis and Intelligence reported that Syrian forces started full-scale offensive. The main aims are the Hama-Homs axis and to lift the ISIS siege of the Kuwarius military airport. Today, the Syrian Arab Army, SAA, with the National Defense Forces, NDF, conducted a large-scale offensive at the terrorist-controlled towns of Kafr Zita, Kala'at al-Madaik, Latmin, and al-Latamina in the Hama Governorate. The Free Syrian Army, CIA-backed Liwa Suqa al-Gab, Sham Legions, Jabhat al-Nusra, and the Harakat Ara al-Sham militant groups opposed the Syrian forces there. The clashes started off successfully for the SAA as they recaptured Al-Muqa, Lahaya, and Makaba. Following this success, the SAA advanced closer to the Idlib-Hama border, capturing the hilltops of Tal Sakar, Tal Sekik, Tal Utman, and the town of Al-Hawiz near the city of Kafr Zita. At the moment, the SAA is reaching the Latmin-Morek axis and the eastern perimeter of Latmin. The primary objective of this offensive is to seal off the northern Hama border with Idlib and build a buffer zone around the city of Khan Shikun. Then the government forces will be able to concentrate on the remaining pockets in the Hama Governorate that are under control of the militants. On October the 7th, 4 Russian Navy warships in the Caspian Sea fired 26 missiles at the positions of ISIS in Syria. The missiles flew some 1,500 kilometers to destroy 11 ISIS targets. This fact highlights the 3 important Navy got combat experience of usage of the Russian caliber missile systems 3M54 Club, which are intended to strike naval and land targets. Second is this act required cooperation from Iran and Iraq because missiles had to travel through their airspace to reach Syria. At the same day, Chairman of Iraq's Parliament's Defense Committee, Hakim al-Zameli, said that Baghdad may soon officially request Russia for airstrikes against ISIS. In this case, the Russia-Iraq-Iran-Syria Joint Information Center's role will be expanded to coordinate Russia's airstrikes in Iraq. Thus, we could conclude Iraq was almost moved from the US zone of influence in the Middle East. Third, it's a demonstration of power for the Russia's Western partners. Earlier, the head of the Defense Committee of Russia's State Duma, Vladimir Komoyedov, said that Russia is ready to use its naval forces to establish a blockade along the Syrian coastline to facilitate the delivery of armaments for terrorists in Syria. Russia shows that it can defend its military group in Latakia even from the Caspian Sea. The Russian military group in Syrian Straits, Russia will be ready. On October the 6th, Erdogan said that Russia could lose a friend as Turkey, but his relationships with the US became colder also. At the moment, it's clear that there are no moderate rebels which could be publicly supported by the US in Syria. Free Syrian Army, FSA, is more a myth than reality. A large part of the FSA's units are directly linked to the Syrian Al-Qaeda. The US in this case surely needs some controlled forces in Syria as an alternative to Assad in order to prevent him from regaining full control over the country. The only candidate for this role is the Kurdish YPG. The US will likely support the Kurds in an attack on Raqqa, the Islamic State headquarters and important logistics center in Syria. This alliance is unacceptable for Turkey, which strongly stands against any kind of Kurdish autonomy at its borders. Furthermore, Raqqa is a crucial point for the Islamic State's oil trade with Turkey. If Raqqa falls, both will lose serious profits. Anyway, the US has no other choice but to replace its moderate rebels with the YPG and pay the price for it, even if the price includes a cooling down of Washington-Ankara relations. Thus, the US-led web of political alliances and relationships in the Middle East is disintegrating roughly. The vestiges of control on terrorist groups sponsored by the pro-Western bloc could be lost. It leads to escalation of the free-for-all war in the region. The growing Russian-led anti-ISIS coalition is the only chance of the regional stabilization. The coalition also includes Iran, Syria, and Iraq. China and Egypt are candidates for the membership. Egypt has a serious problem with the local branch of ISIS in the Sinai Peninsula. China will probably participate actively in the Syrian anti-ISIS campaign, but its armed forces need combat experience. So, a limited military ground and air